Now, coming up in the bulletin, police confirm 11 arrests in today's massive demonstration at Asamankese in protest of poor roads in the town and maintain heavy presence to avert further rioting. Government is meanwhile urging restraints as efforts are made to address the residents' concerns. Basic school exams end nationwide with the candidates, including this 46-year-old man, happy to have scaled the first major hurdle in their education. Tertiary school at the heart of last week's deadly clashes in the town reopened after timely midterm break. An accounting firm, KPMG, presents its report on audit of nearly 14,000 pink sheets it counted to the Supreme Court hearing the election petition. We also have business, sports, international news and showbiz, all coming up in the bulletin.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, calm is said to have returned to Asamankese near Tema, where a massive protest by residents today brought traffic to and from the town to a standstill. The disturbances became very violent with the burning of tires across the main entry and exit routes, requiring the deployment of a combined team of police and military officers. The residents were protesting against bad roads and the absence of street lights in the area. 11 suspects are currently in police custody in connection with the rioting.
It all started just before rush hour with blockades on key sections of the road leading to and out of the town. Commuters, as a result, were held up in traffic, with many others unable to access public transport, making the journey by foot. The action, which is believed to have been initiated by commercial transport unions within the Asamankese municipality, appeared to have quickly won the support of residents of the town. Initial attempts by the police to quell the situation was rebuffed by the irate crowd, forcing them to retreat and call in reinforcements. Their main beef was the poor nature of this road, the Asamankese main road, which runs from the motorway underbridge through the main lorry park to the Asamankese runabout. The residents say the road has remained in this deplorable state for about 4 years now, despite...
Now, government is urging residents of Asamankese to remain calm as attempts are made to address their concerns. Addressing journalists at the Flagstaff House this morning, Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Felix Kwakye Ofosu says much as government appreciates their grievances, the law must be respected. He was reacting to the riots in the town Monday morning. The Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister also touched on other matters, including the detention of suspected arsonists believed to have been involved in recent market fires.
Let me state that government notes their concern. We do appreciate their concern. Nonetheless, it is important that they exercise restraint whilst we take steps to ensure that whatever grievance may have informed this conduct is addressed.
On the arrest of some persons linked to the market fires, some persons in the New Patriotic Party have accused government of witch hunting their members. A leading member, Dr. Efria Koto, says the 3 suspects currently in police custody at the Criminal Investigations Department headquarters are members of the NPP local chapter in Boko, but temporarily resident in Accra. But the Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister denied any such witch hunting by government.
On the matter of the suspects who were arrested last week in relation to the fire outbreaks, I think it's a matter that the security agencies are handling. Government is not in the business of witch hunting, so we do not know where that allegation is coming from. But you can always contact the police and they will shed more light on that matter.
And now, Joy News has noted with concern in recent times the police's handling of some injured person during demonstrations and riots, as happened today at Asamankese. Our cameras captured an instance where an injured person was left to his fate this morning. Now, coming on the back of a similar incident last week during the clashes at Teshin, we found it necessary to draw the attention of the police to what appears to be an emerging practice.
Both the police and military men were present at the scene in their numbers, some in SWAT gears and others in armored cars. There was, however, no ambulance on standby. The police only looked on when this driver was injured in the forehead, leaving him to bleed until this bystander offered to assist. There was a similar incident during the Teshi disturbances last week. One of the severely injured was left in a bucket of this police truck. Our cameras observed him lying there for quite a while without any medical attention.
Accounting firm KPMG has presented the results of its auditing of pink sheets tendered in evidence in the ongoing election petition hearing as directed by the Supreme Court. According to the firm, it counted a total of 13,926 pink sheets, of which over 3,500 were duplicates. The KPMG report was tendered in evidence today at the Supreme Court when it resumed sitting after a 10-day break.
KPMG partner and head of audit practice, Ni Amanododu, presented the report to the Supreme Court.
My Lords, our report is made up of the main body of the report itself and accompanying appendices. They are contained in a 5-volume document, 15 copies of which were delivered to the registrar for onward submission to all the parties.
Lead counsel for the petitioners, Philip Addison, then prayed the court to grant them 2 days to study the final report, but lawyers for the respondents argued that the report could be studied in just a day since all the parties involved had been given drafts of the report days earlier. Additionally, the petitioners requested a soft copy of the final report for study, but the lawyer for President John Dramani Mahama, Tony Letha, fiercely opposed that request on the basis that the terms of engagement and ground rules that govern the audit barred any of the parties except the referee from having access to the soft copy. His motion was supported by counsel for the second and third respondents, Kwashi Aidan and Chachu Chikata.
And all we are asking for is the electronic copy of this report. That's all. We'll pay for it if there is a cost. They don't have to ask for it if they don't need it. That is all. And I'm sure it can easily be provided by the referee. That is all we're asking. And the rules provide for it anyway.
They said that single one will be kept under lock and key, so that if there's any reproduction, it's got to be from that one and that one alone. And they are very clear. And I remember that I don't know why the fuss is being made. We all agreed it was part of the rules of engagement that only one soft copy will be provided and kept under lock and key. Everybody else gets a hard copy. It's too late to change the rules now, and we object to it.
The ensuing arguments between the petitioners and the respondents forced the bench to recall the KPMG representative into the witness box to clarify issues. He told the court, per standard practice, they do not give out soft copies to the parties involved. The bench, subsequently by a 7-2 majority decision, ruled against the petitioner's request for a soft copy of the report. The bench also did not take kindly to some media reports it says did not accurately reflect the proceedings in court and warned sanctions would subsequently be brought against such persons.
We have drawn attention to unacceptable statements made by counsel and the media, and giving indication that we will not accept that situation. But it seems
not to be yielding any fruits. Accordingly, we have taken the position that any person, be he in the media or not, who crosses the final touch line of proper coverage and reportage on our court proceedings will be met with the appropriate response.
The case has been adjourned to Wednesday, June 26th.
Well, spokespersons for the various legal teams have been reacting to today's proceedings.
We have asked the court that we be allowed to go and study the report to enable us continue with our cross-examination. There was a bit of a tussle over that. The respondents wanted the matter to go on because, according to them, the understanding was that there were only a few pink sheets that we were seeking to find out whether they were in the count, and therefore we should proceed. But clearly, they didn't even know how many pink sheets we were going to confront Dr. Aferijan with.
The report has been presented, but technically, it's not being opened, as it were, you know. And I think that really we should exercise a little bit of patience. Well, figures, yes. I mean, the figures are there. Let us see these figures come out in what do you call it, in real time.
Now, government has assured steps are being taken to recover monies paid out as judgment debts as ordered by the Supreme Court in recent rulings. The Supreme Court directives in the case of Asamankese and Waterville Holdings were the outcome of legal actions taken by the former Attorney General Martin Amidu. The two cases should together bring in some $47 million. Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Murtala Mohammed told journalists at the Flagstaff files that mandated state institutions are following up on the directive.
Well, there are agencies that have the capacity to enforce court judgments, and I believe that those agencies would work on the Supreme Court's ruling last Friday.
Right, so that was Felix Kwachofosu, Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister. Now, joining us on the line is legal practitioner Ankuma with considerable experience on these issues to help us with the kind of options available to government when it comes to recovering these monies paid out as judgment debts. Good evening to you, Mr. Ankuma.
Good evening.
Now, what are the options available to government in its quest to retrieve these monies as directed by the Supreme Court?
Well, the best will be if the people who've been ordered to pay the money walk up to the government and write a check. But that almost always never happens. Judgments are not self-executing, and it's not courts who do it. It's the winning party who must execute it. In this instance, note that the government was a defendant in all their actions, but the government is the beneficiary of those actions. So there's a formal process of opening what is called a white docket, if that becomes relevant, and then executing against the assets of the judgment debtor, if the judgment debtor has assets. But that is if and only if the judgment debtor has assets within the jurisdiction. If the judgment debtor does not have assets within the jurisdiction, then technically we have nothing in Ghana. You can't enforce against directors. You can't. You have to go after the assets of the companies themselves. So if we do not find assets in Ghana, then we have to look at some cross-jurisdictional enforcement, which means that we would have to go to the countries of Waterville and Isofoton to enforce those judgments. That creates a first scenario, whether or not we have reciprocity with those countries. Now, so we have to investigate reciprocity. If there's no reciprocal enforcement of judgments, then we might have to file a fresh action in those jurisdictions and contest the matter, which means we would hire lawyers and there will be litigation relying on that judgment as evidence of a debt. When you have obtained that, then the question is whether the judgment debtor has assets. So if you go through all of that and find out that the judgment debtor has no assets, then that's the end of the matter. You can't enforce against anything else. So I think that the battle has now really begun as to whether or not we will recover any money from these two actions.
All right. So typically, which institution should be taking up this quest?
It's the Attorney General's Department. They must enter the judgment and enforce it as if they have obtained a full judgment from the court. Although technically they were defendants, they are also the beneficiaries of the judgment. So the Attorney General's Department would have to execute the judgment.
All right. You mentioned earlier that it has to also start from the companies that have been mentioned here, they being willing or wanting to cooperate with whatever ruling it is. So we've had a representative of one of the firms involved, Isofoton, say the company will not pay. Is there much government can do, especially when it turns out they really do not have assets here in Ghana that the state can follow?
I haven't heard him, but as I said, if they have assets in Ghana, we can proceed against them. If they do not have assets, and we are still interested in the $400,000 claim, we have to go to Spain to execute it. Trust me. If you hire a top Spanish law firm, his bills will exceed $400,000 in 2 weeks. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of thinking and strategizing to be done. But if they refuse to pay the money and write a check, then you are going to have to execute against assets in Ghana. If they do not have assets in Ghana, you have to pursue them to their home countries. Now, for instance, you know about British Virgin Islands. It's a tax haven. A lot of these companies might end up being shell companies, which means they literally exist in a file on some lawyer's desk. And so it will be very interesting to see if we can find any asset of an entity like Waterview outside Ghana. But I believe that we have the ability to do tracing and to trace assets and other probably shares that they might have, etc., and see how we can execute against that. But like I said, the job is now really beginning, and it's the Attorney General that's going to chase those monies.
All right, thank you very much. You heard legal practitioner Asamankese sharing his thoughts with us on how government can go about in retrieving these monies that the Supreme Court says must be refunded to the states. You're watching Joy News at 8 here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away. The minority in Parliament is proposing a registration of all lobbyists as one way to reduce corruption in the country. It is also calling on government and civil society groups to collaborate to ensure government has a statutory lobbying register that applies across board as part of ways to improve democracy and ensuring more effective policy making. This came up at a dialogue forum organized by Star Ghana for civil society groups and parliamentarians on improving transparency, accountability and responsive government.
Both majority and minority leaders in their presentation noted the best way to ensure transparency is to engage civil society to check executive power. The minority cited areas such as natural resource, open budget system, and lobbying register to enhance transparency.
We are sowing the seed for corruption because we then allow lobbying to be done according to who you know, whether it's through family members or it's through party. You must know somebody. But once the lobby register is established by law, you don't have that problem any longer. So you can track whatever is going on, and then you can publish whatever is going at the website of either Parliament or at the Chief of Staff's office, so that everybody can go there and get the information that he's looking for.
Civil society also endorsed calls for the lobbying register.
If you look at the judgment deaths we've had, clearly the cases around the judgment death, it's telling you clearly that there are some agents provocateurs, there are some people who call themselves lobbyists and through the back door engage in all kinds of funny games. And somehow the unsuspecting parliament or unsuspecting executive may be, may be sold for lack of a better way. So it is important to have a register for our lobbyists, know their interest, and that essentially would also enhance transparency. So it's a very good initiative.
Deputy Minority Leader Dominic Nitiwol also noted they will ensure that the Right to Information Bill is passed within a week when submitted for parliamentary approval.
The government brings the Right to Information Bill this week, would ensure that leadership lays it, and will ensure the minister does that. It will refer to the committee and it will be passed very urgent because MPs themselves are interested in passing that bill. It will all be done in a week. Will fast track it because bills can be can be done on what we call a certificate of emergency, and that's what we intend to do.
In an interview with the program's manager of Star Ghana, Ibrahim Tanko, he noted, as part of Star Ghana's number of actions to support Parliament, a Speaker's Breakfast program will be held in early July to support Parliament in improving its engagements with the Ghanaian populace.
Now, the King David School, which was at the heart of last week's chieftaincy clashes at Teshi, today reopened after timely midterm recess. Joint news checks, however, revealed very few of the pupils turned up for school.
Pupils and teachers of the King David School appeared happy to be back in school. After surviving a rather frightening event, they had every reason to be grateful to God. Teachers, together with some counselors, took the pupils through some sessions. The pupils said they hope they will never have to endure another such harrowing experience in their lives.
I'm feeling good that our teachers have spoken to us, so we have kept safe. I hope that what happened on Thursday, it could not happen again.
I'm very excited to be back in school because what happened, that incident which happened was so scary. So everyone was nervous, so was I. So I thank God for bringing us back to and I thank God that nothing happened to any of us because I also wept. I wept bitterly and then I was so nervous and scared as I went home. So I just thank God for bringing me back to and then nothing happened to us. I feel very good.
Though classes had resumed, the turnout was not as expected. A number of the school children, particularly at the primary level, were absent, but school officials attributed it to changes in the academic calendar.
Parents thought today is also midterms. Now, because normally we do go on midterms for 2 days, but it was only this time that we've changed the date to be only 1 day. So we are sensing that from tomorrow they'll be in numbers. Because looking at the number today is very encouraging.
The school hitherto depended solely on this gate, but officials say they are working on creating more entry and exit points in the school with security personnel. Director of the school, David Nia Shayama, assured of their relentless efforts to keep the pupils safe.
We talked to the commander and he gave us security for the whole, since last Friday, Saturday and Sunday. But today they thought it wise, as the children are coming, police officer in uniform will be. So we have a security man now at the gate who is checking everything. Now we will get a permanent security man there. Wise, time and time, the police officers also will come around. Things will be better from next week, and we know we'll get at least 2 or 3 security men at the gate.
Right, we're turning to our earlier story on the rioting that happened at Asamankese, said to have returned to the town now, where massive demonstration by residents today brought traffic to and from the town to a standstill. Now, the residents have been protesting about the poor nature of their roads. We've gotten word that there's some work has started on the roads, and I'm joined on the line now by Gladys Redu, my colleague there. She's going to bring us up to date as to what exactly is happening. Good evening to you, Gladys. Are you able to tell us if anything at all is being done on these roads, as has been suggested by the Municipal Chief Executive?
Yes, Israel. I got here a while ago, and indeed they have brought some latrite onto the road. And according to the Municipal Chief Executive, he says that it is something they do from time to time, and it just coincided with today's riot. Whilst they were fighting the riots somewhere else, the latrites were being brought on the road. And I have toured from one end, a stretch of the road actually, and really it's in bad state. And according to some of the residents, they say whenever the latrite is brought, it is just dumped on it, and when it rains, the place gets so muddy. It is so difficult for both human beings and cars to ply the road. And that their cry is that they shouldn't just come and pour the latrite on the road and leave it, because if rain comes again, it would be the same problem. So they need them to do something more permanent than what is currently happening. And I went to the station to find out from the drivers after seeing that something is being done on the road, if they are happy and what they look forward to. So I've been joined here by one of the drivers who says they are happy and that they will continue to pursue till they really get results. I don't know if we can talk to him briefly, but he would be speaking in Chi. If that's okay, I'll just hand over to him to tell us.
Before we get him on the line, the other question is, what is the situation, what's the mood like in the town? I mean, all morning they've been protesting. Is this area calm now?
Yes, the calm has returned to Ashama and everybody is going about their normal activities. A while ago when the match was being played, we saw a lot of them gathered and watching the match as if nothing had happened earlier in the day. So calm has really returned to Ashama and everybody is going about their normal duties. At the station, the cars are loading, passengers are getting on board. So it doesn't look like anything even happened earlier today.
All right, thank you very much, Gladys Reid. We would like to leave it there, but definitely we'll bring you details as and when they become available. If there's any other developments, we would inform you about it. In other news, basic education certificates examinations have ended nationwide. According to Head of Test Administration and Division at WAEC, Felix Ekufu Badu, everything went on smoothly as anticipated. He however noted that the council has discovered a trend where some students not in their final year registered for the exams with other schools and cautioned such students will have their papers cancelled. Matilda Nyakwa Dennis has more.
Out of the 391,082 students who participated in this year's basic education certificate examinations, 209,383 were males, with the remaining 181,699 females. 11,778 schools participated in the examinations nationwide at 1,379 centers. Thus, one supervisor was deployed per center, assisted by 1,297 assistant supervisors and 13,714 invigilators. But for a few challenges, most of the centers joinees visited around the capital reported smooth conduct between 17th and 24th June 2013.
But so far, so good. So far, so good. We have not had any problem. Well, I think at this center, I can say that the students have comported themselves very well. We've also tried to create that conducive atmosphere for them to write. You know, when they are relaxed, they don't fidget. But when there's tension, they don't know. So we try to let them settle. We ensure they have filled in the index numbers and everything. So they use the time actually to answer the questions, not to fill in those details. We are hoping that what has happened here will happen everywhere so that there will be fairness.
From the beginning of the time, we saw there was a little bit of shivering in the children, but as the day goes by, they become normal to the situation. And even today, they have come in a joyous mood that they are almost completing their school. So the exam also went on smoothly.
The head of test administration highlighted the emerging trend where some students were taking part in exams they were not qualified for.
Some candidates went to examination halls to write papers that they had not been registered for. There were not too many of them. Then we've also had reports that some second year candidates are registering with other schools for the examination. This is not proper because we expect schools to give us continuous assessment scores, and if the candidates are in the second year, it means they're going to forge the third year scores. So we have the letters, we have the requests from the schools. We're going to investigate and we'll cancel results for all those candidates.
Dr. Akunu Agbeti, who works with the council to curb such situations, explained why the practice must be stopped.
If candidates haven't gone through the 3 years and they are registering for the exam, it means they are shortchanging the national educational system. What they are supposed to get within the 3 years, they may not have gotten. Maybe this should be a national issue for all stakeholders to take a look at. Do we really need the 3 years, or can we allow some children not to have the 3 years? This is a debate that we have to engage in as a nation.
The council says all schools with candidates who may have engaged in the practice should submit their names for further investigations.
Now, completing the basic certificate exams has come at great relief to many of the candidates. Matilda Nyakwa and Dennis came across some school leavers at the Kandak cluster of schools, who for them, this meant the world.
Pupils while away time during the break, waiting for the final paper. Unlike the usual tension that characterized the beginning of the exams, most of them were having fun or chatting happily away. Most of them complained of the science paper as the most difficult subject, with religious and moral education being the least difficult. Candidates at the Kandak cluster of schools was optimistic all would be well.
At first, when we were about to start, because of the name BECE, so we were scared. But when we took the first paper, that was English, we were like, oh, after all, BECE is nothing. But if only you learn, you see it the way you like it. What we were expecting came. So we are happy, but we don't know of other students. I want to become a nutritionist or a gynecologist.
At the Osu Presby Compound A and B, the pupils were about to write their final paper when the news team arrived. Most of them looked happy but tired in anticipation of what awaited them in their last paper. At about 3:45 p.m., the final year pupils at the Kandak cluster of schools jubilated when the final bell sounded. They couldn't contain their joy and jubilated wildly. For these young women, perhaps, wearing lipstick signaled their freedom not only from the examinations but freedom into life.
We are very happy and we thank God for making us finish our exams successfully. All we are hoping for right now is the results, and we should get the schools we want.
Well, they say they are happy. A 46-year-old man, Bayo Zinye Matthias of Malam Krom LJHS in the Tichiman municipality of Brong-Ahafo is also happy to have successfully completed this year's BECE. Joining us is Brong-Ahafo regional correspondent Nestor Kafu Yajuma caught up with him after writing his final paper.
46-year-old Bayo Zinye Matthias is married and a father of 5 children. All of his 5 children are currently schooling, whilst the wife provides financial backing through farming. Bayo Zinye Matthias is zealous to become a medical practitioner, hence the decision to enroll at Malam Krom LJHS. For this reason, Bayo Zinye Matthias takes keen interest in all science-related subjects. In an interview with Joy News, for this reason, Bayo Zinye Matthias takes keen interest in all science-related subjects.
Studies, so far as studies is concerned, that's what I normally enjoy. Because anytime I return from classes in the house, if food is put in front of me, my books will also lie on my side. That one, the family activities, I put that one aside and make more focus on the education side. Okay, in future, I would like to be a doctor. Yes. My message is that they should know that education, without education, you can't do anything in this world.
Education, we don't have age limit. No matter your years, you can still pursue education. The classical example is what we are seeing this afternoon. A 46-year-old person who is determined to pursue the course of education. And it's a great example to everybody around that no matter where you are coming from, the age, the creed, your belief, you can still pursue education.
Up next, we bring you business news.
Joy News Business is brought to you in association.
Now, ActionAid Ghana is embarking on a campaign to significantly improve the amount of revenue accruing to the state from taxes by 2017. targeted mainly at multinationals engaging in schemes to avoid payment of taxes, will also involve media campaigns to demystify the subject. The NGO believes a successful outcome will ensure more revenue will be made available for government to provide amenities and infrastructure to improve the lives of citizens.
Action Aid says its research points to various schemes employed by multinationals to avoid payment of taxes in the countries they operate so as to maximize profit. It says the state loses some $36 million from mining sector alone each year through such schemes, monies which could make significant difference to the country's development. It says though such schemes are not necessarily illegal, companies have a moral responsibility to pay their taxes.
Multinational companies are using aggressive tax planning schemes which enable them to siphon their profit, the profit that they earn in Ghana, into tax havens. So when they report losses, then it means they don't pay tax. And when they don't pay tax, it means government is also not able to mobilize adequate revenue to provide for the needs of the people.
Officials explain the campaign over the next 4 years will engage a number of interested parties, especially the Ghana Revenue Authority.
The key stakeholders that we have identified will do a needs assessment so that we provide for their capacity needs. And when we provide the capacity needs, then it means all of us will be on the same level. We'll mobilize the people, the numbers of organizations, the people that we need, so that all of us campaign. When we have a bigger voice, then we'll be able to impress upon government and multinationals to do a lot with regards to.
The campaign is part of a global drive by the NGO to improve tax compliance amongst companies.
Government says it has managed to recover some 60,000 Ghana cedis from tax evaders in a special operation mounted by the Chief of Staff-led Presidential Task Force. Deputy Minister of Information and Media Relations Felix Kwachofosu said the amount was recovered on a single import route in 2 weeks. The task force commissioned in May this year has been tasked to plug revenue leakages and has so far made some arrests. The Deputy Information Minister at the daily media briefing at the Presidency said revenue collection at the ports has generally improved since the task force started its work.
This particular task force is known as the Special Operations Unit. So far, they have been able to intercept a number of vehicles that were carrying varying volumes of goods. When the task force detects under invoicing or a discrepancy, they recover the amount that is outstanding and then impose a penalty of the same amount that was recovered. And this is what has led to the recovery of 60,000 Ghana cedis over the last 2 weeks. We urge the public also to cooperate with the task force and volunteer information that would lead to the arrest of individuals involved in this unpatriotic activity.
UK Telecoms Group Vodafone has agreed with the board of German cable operator Cable Deutschland to buy the business for 7.7 billion euros. Vodafone is offering shareholders 87 euros per share in cash, a bid the cable board said will now recommend to shareholders. Business, but next we bring you some smart investment tips. So for social media this evening, I will be asking you the question, is there any justification at all? Could there be any justification at all for today's rioting at Asamankese? And a number of you have been sending in your comments. Jacob Enchil says they should just hear their plea. Seidu Amiao says there is justification because it is their right to riot, to push their agenda. Anderson David Ebo says, I support what they did. Our leaders are just money thirsty. They're living like donkeys who have to be forced to work. And Dalhak Abubakar says, yes, of course, the road has been in deplorable situation for long. And Wa to Accra Road should not be left out. Thank God government is now reacting to their grievances. John Jaja says, this is an indication of what is likely to happen very soon if the unemployment situation is not resolved. Joseph Eduse says there is justification since that is the only language authorities in Ghana hear. I hope it is repeated across the whole of the country. So a lot of you have been agreeing or think that there is justification in the rioting by the Asamankese youth. But there's one other, Akutu Jacobs Breakthrough Watson says, it's barbaric and uncalled for. There are lay-down channels to make your grievances heard, not burning of tires and disturbing public order. Let's make good use of the democratic state we are known for. Up next, we have international news.
Sports is brought to you in association.
In the world of sports, my name is George Added Jr. and things didn't go well for the Black Satellites at all in Turkey. Jesse Rodriguez scored his third goal of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup as Spain qualified for the last 16 with the game to spare thanks to a hard-fought 1-0 win over Ghana. The Black Satellites made life extremely difficult though for the European champions, but could not find a way to get themselves back into this all-important game. The decisive goal arrived in the 13th minute when Jesse slaughtered home from close range after Denis Suarez did superbly on the left to beat his man and deliver an inch-perfect low-cut back. Right, so that's how the Black Satellites lost the game. They are not out of this. They still have a chance if they can beat USA. Let's talk about the Black Stars now. In Black Stars midfielder Suleiman Tari says he accepts Coach Kwesi Appiah's decision to substitute him in their 2-0 victory over Lesotho in the 2014 African World Cup qualifier. Suleiman Tari confronted Coach Kwesi Appiah on why he substituted him and went straight into the dressing room in a disagreement over his substitution during the game in Maseru last week. The AC Milan star, who came back to sit on the bench for the remainder of the game, in an interview with Joy Sports stated he had made up with the coach.
Decision was from him. I can say it all. I can convince him and tell him, yeah, listen, man, we have everything. We have that. We have this. We have that. But he made a decision to come back because he had great concern for Ghana. And whenever I'm here to play for the national team, when I get back, he always asks me about how it went and how it's gone and everything like that. So yeah,
I see. And okay, how difficult was it doing that? How difficult was it doing that doing that, convincing Kevin to come back?
Yeah,
because I remember you've been interviewed severally on that topic.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm Prince's personal assistant or something like that. No, let's put joke aside. Yeah, but I always talk to him like that, and then Prince is one amazing guy.
All right, so Suleiman Tari and all those problems being sorted out. Just before I step out, two-time champion Rafael Nadal has been knocked out of Wimbledon by Belgium's Steve Dassis in one of the biggest shocks of recent years. Now, Dassis, ranked 135 in the world, beat the Spaniard 7-6, 7-6, 6-4 in the first match round on court 1. So it's very disappointing, but if you are very close to this, you know that Nadal did this some time ago when he lost to Lucas Rosol. So that'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Added Jr. Do have a good night. Israel will join us with Showbiz.
Sports was brought to you in